Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. Springtime can mean different things to a lot of different folks. For some, it's all about the crappie spawn. For others, well, it's time to pick morel mushrooms. But for me, springtime means one thing. That's turkey season. Well, today we've got a turkey variety show of sorts for you. We'll catch up with a few of our wildlife biologists and talk about turkey habitat management. We'll also get some calling tips from our new state turkey calling champion. But first, an inspiring story of a young turkey hunter who's faced more medical issues and serious disease as a teenager than most adults will in their entire life.
Connor and Curtis Mobley are my cousins. Their dad, Michael, is my cousin, and Mike Mobley Sr. Is my mom's brother. Connor and Curtis, Michael's sons, they live in Lebanon, Missouri. Their dad is a Missouri Highway Patrol. Back in March of '07, Connor was diagnosed with a brainstem tumor. He went in for surgery and had about 90% of this tumor removed. And then I believe they had about 3 weeks of radiation and treatments to try and knock out whatever was left. For such a little boy, it was a hard time for himself, his younger brother, and of course all the family. You know, a lot of prayer, a lot of praying going on. So far so good. He's had it all clear, so hopefully it stays like that, and he can rock on and keep knocking birds down. We got a phone call, and Connor was wanting to come to Oklahoma and try and get an Oklahoma Rio with his bow. I checked with a friend of ours here in town that had a little farm that was close to the house, and we went out one evening, I think it was the weekend before opening season, and roosted some birds. We found a spot where there had to have been at least 6 or 7 gobblers and a dozen or more hens, and we had them coming into the calls. We had them gobbling and strutting for us, so we thought we had this deal pretty well sealed up. And so we let them roost. We waited till 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour after dark, and snuck back out. So we thought we had this one in the bag. We had a 50-50 shot of which way they were going to go. Were they going to go to the wheat, or were they going to come to the grass, you know, to the prairie fields first? So we got in there early, snuck in without a sound. We had Todd in the tent with a camera with Grandpa Mike, and Connor was in the camera, in there with the camera and a bow. So we had it set up. We thought this was a done deal. They should fly right here. It should be a 20-yard shot, and we're gonna go home and eat some breakfast pretty quick. So we thought we had it planned out. They're used to hunting a lot of eastern birds, and they really wasn't used to that much activity straight out of the roost. So everybody had smiles on their faces. So we thought it's gonna happen. You know, and of course, sun comes up, birds start doing their thing, and what do? They go the other way. And we sat there and watched them. So our game plan was to basically take one of the ground blinds, put it within bow range, and hope that they funnel right into where we're at, and we can go through and try and stick on with an arrow. Well, we get the blind moved. We're inside the hot box. Of course, it's warm like it is most times in spring. It's either one way or the other, and it was hot. You know, we could see birds strutting. They were out there. No way to get to them because it's open wheat field, and they're just on the other side of the crown, and it's just right at that point where you're not going to gain any ground. This was a tough shot. The birds were coming in from behind us. You have 2 grown men, both of them in chairs. You've got a tripod with cameras. You've got Connor with a bow getting anxious. You're sweating, it's hot. Everybody's nerves are on end. And we have one chance to try and get a bird. And so here that came. He had About a 30-yard shot. The distance wasn't an issue. The issue was getting maneuvered inside this blind without making any noise, without bumping the blind, knocking a chair over, knocking the camera over, knocking the camera guy over. And what do? You have to try. If you don't try, you just go home. You know, what do you say? Sometimes you eat a tag sandwich, sometimes, you know, you fill them all. We had a chance. We didn't get the bird, but who could complain? We had 2 days of Rios gobbling their heads off. We had people smiling ear to ear. It's not always about hanging a beard on the wall. We had a good time. You know, we've already got plans for next year already. They're both coming back. We're gonna chase them again, and hopefully we'll get one this year.
Hello, welcome to the Management Minute. Today we're out at Northwest Oklahoma on Cooper Wildlife Management Area with Eddie Wilson, the biologist on the area, doing a little bit of cedar cutting underneath some turkey roost sites. So Eddie, what do we got going on behind us here?
Well, Doug, we've got a couple of nice native elm trees there that be good turkey roost sites. Turkeys like native elms and they like cottonwoods, and we're kind of down in the river bottom on Cooper, and we do have a pretty good turkey population on the management area. Ryan is actually going in and removing these cedar trees from underneath these roost sites. Turkeys don't like trees underneath the roost site because it allows for an avenue for predators like bobcats to, you know, come in and get close before they realize they're there and catch the turkeys. But Ryan's actually using a bobcat to remove these trees. These trees haven't really got out of hand. They're not real big yet. I know everybody doesn't have that type of equipment, so we could remove those with a chainsaw or, you know, smaller equipment and achieve the same purpose. But we want to protect those trees basically.
So whenever he cuts these, what are you going to do? Are you just going to let those cedar trees lay, or are you going to pull them out from under them?
No, what we're going to do, this is actually an area that's scheduled to be burned. So another reason we're removing these trees, we want to get them away from the any of the potential roost sites to protect them from fire. If we were to burn as is right now, most likely the cedar trees are going to go up and kill the roost trees. So we'll remove the cedars, protect the trees, and provide a better roost site for the turkeys.
Most of these trees that are under this their understory are eastern red cedars. Do they have to be worried about other tree species?
For the most part, we don't have other trees come in, you know, that would cause a problem underneath the roost sites. But the eastern red cedars, they're definitely a problem. One of the reasons they start underneath the roost sites are, you know, birds will bring the seed in and that they've eaten, and you know, smaller birds, and drop the seed, and that's where we get these den stands underneath those trees.
What are some of the maintenance practices that we might have to do after the cedars are taken out?
Well, really, after they're taken out, we try to maintain them with fire before they get big again. But if that's not an option for a landowner, a lot of guys will just go in when the cedars are small, you know, a foot or less. They'll take a weed eater with a blade on the weed eater, remove those cedars, even loppers. But once you take them out, you're gonna bare ground and you're gonna get a regeneration of new cedars. So it's gonna be a continuous process to maintain you know, the cedars out from under those roost sites.
If you're interested in removing eastern red cedar underneath your roost site, for more information, contact your private lands biologist. And this has been your Management Minute on removing eastern red cedars underneath your roost sites.
While you're checking out this week's outdoor news report, I'm going to be enjoying one of my favorite turkey hunting traditions, my noonday nap. When we come back, we'll visit with a fellow that knows a thing or two about turkey talk and get some great advice.
Broken Bow Lake area is probably most noted for its trout fishery that lies in the lower Mountain Fork River. But what's often overlooked is the fishery that lies up in Broken Bow Lake itself. From the upper end of the Mountain Fork River off the Broken Bow WMA, in the springtime you have the opportunity to catch a trophy white bass. Mid to late March, the white bass make their run up the upper Mountain Fork River. In the area just off of the Broken Bow WMA, access is easiest by boat. As you move on into the spring a little bit further, you have the chance to catch a trophy largemouth bass. Catching an 8 to 10 pound bass isn't uncommon. So whether you're wanting to fish for trout in the lower Mountain Fork River, try your chance at catching a trophy largemouth bass, or enjoy the sand bass run on the upper Mountain Fork River, Broken Bow Lake area has much to offer to even the most novice angler. So whatever you're after, the Broken Bow Lake area has something for everyone.
Trace Phipps is a wildlife technician for us at the Three Rivers and Honubby Creek Wildlife Management areas. And even though that might not get his name in the paper, being the reigning state champion turkey caller and placing second in the world finals recently just might. We had a chance to visit with Trace and pick his brain about his wealth of knowledge of talking turkey.
Didn't start competition calling until I was, it was probably 2007 when I first started. And I went to my first contest. My buddies all thought I should enter it, so I went up here to Oklahoma City. It was at Backwoods Hunting Show. And they had the state calling competition going on at that time, and I entered it. And luckily I come out and I won it. But since then I've been going, like I said, since 2007, so probably going on 7, 8 years now doing it. And I've won several Oklahoma titles, Oklahoma State titles, some opens, won a couple of Arkansas titles, won some Texas titles as well in the opens, and went to Nashville this year, placed second in the Goblin, and went to Worlds also in Stuttgart, placed 5th overall, and actually placed first in Goblin at Stuttgart, Arkansas for Worlds. When we're trying to communicate with a turkey, typically the hen responds to the gobbler and she goes to the gobbler. Now with us, we don't have the ability to go to him. We got to sit back and hide. So we're trying to reverse nature and coax that gobbler in to coming to us. Some of the advantages of some of the calls here, hunting wise and as far as using them and being a beginner and trying to learn how to use them. For example, our push pin call here. It's not loud, it's not real loud, but it's easy to use, and it creates very, very good hen talk. For a beginner, it's simple. A little bit of rhythm practice and you can learn how to yelp with it, how to purr with it, and how to cluck with it. All that's made just by the push of a button here. And it's really easy, and it's really good for a beginner or for kids who are wanting to learn how to call turkeys. Again, the box, probably the oldest, still simple to use though. You just slide the lid. This is your lid right here. And here's your ridges. You just slide it along the ridges. From there, you get a little more advanced calls. For instance, your scratch box here. They're a little more touchy on holding your angles right and trying to get the right surface to make the correct noise or the sound that you would like. But they're still pretty easy to learn, and a little bit of practice you can get them down. With your pot calls, again, it's like holding a pencil and holding a bowl in your hand here. It takes a little more practice to find out how the call works, how it runs best. But you've got different strikers, different pots, and not all of them run the exact same. There are some that are easier to use. It's a little more finicky and takes a little more time to use and figure out how to get it just right. The Diaphragm Calls took me a long time to figure out how to get the sound that I wanted in it, but once you get it, it just become natural to you and you'll understand it better. But you know, some of the advantages they have in the woods, a box call. You've heard this before, probably one of the loudest calls out on the market. Windy days, I'll have a box call with me, and I'll be doing it as loud as I can, trying to reach out there for a turkey to hear me. Your mouth calls, probably my favorite. No movement. I can be loud and you can be soft. It just takes a little more practice to get there, but once you do, I think you'll really enjoy using a diaphragm while calling. All of them have their advantages in different situations, and they're all good to have in your vest with you when you're out on hunt. I call a lot less to an eastern wild turkey than I do to a Rio, and you seem to get away with more calling with a Rio than you would an eastern. Like I said, they seem to be a more timid and shy turkey and don't like a lot of loud talk or a lot of talk. In a Rio, they're really loud and they like it loud.
You know, whether you're a novice or a seasoned veteran, there's always room to learn something new. Oklahoma is lucky to have more than one subspecies of wild turkeys. The Rio Grandes take up most of the state, but just as Trace mentioned, we also have eastern birds. Now, eastern turkeys in Oklahoma have struggled in the last few years, and to help us better understand the plight of the eastern birds, here's senior wildlife biologist Jack Waymeyer at Pushmataha Wildlife Management Area.
Basically, the eastern birds are managed in the southeast region. That's basically 8 counties. From 69 Highway east, the eastern birds do exist, but they have a tendency to cross with Rios, so only the southeast counties are managed for pure eastern birds. The rest of them have a tendency to cross over to be integrates. The restoration efforts where we actually brought birds in from Arkansas and Missouri back in the 60s. They took off, reproduced, expanded their range, and did quite well. Then in about 1986, the eastern birds crashed. It took us till about 91 to be able to do a little regulation change to where we shortened the season, reduced the bag limit, and started the season later. One of the things we've seen is that we actually need to initiate or start season during the second peak gobbling event, which is during peak incubation period, when the hens are setting on the nest, incubating a clutch of eggs. That's when the second peak gobbling event takes place. In 2003, we actually had more turkeys than was ever documented in the state of Oklahoma. Then we hit our extreme drought period. From 2004 till 2012, we were under extreme droughts, almost no reproduction during those years. So now we're back into a very low density turkey population, especially the eastern birds. So 3 years ago, we went back, shortened the season length, started it during peak incubation, and reduced the bag limit. Hopefully, in 5 or 6 years, we will recover again. It worked once, it should work again, if the weather will cooperate. 2005, the drought was so extreme that the soil moisture was worse than it was during the Dust Bowl days of 1929 and 30. So we lost our insects for 5 years. It took us till 2010 to recover our insects. So the first 8 weeks of a turkey poult's life is a total insect diet. So without the bugs, it wouldn't matter if they laid 1 million eggs and hatched them off, they weren't going to survive. So the drought was the major issue with our declining turkey population. So in the last 2 springs we've had fair reproduction. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 springs, if we have good early hatches and put a lot of birds on the ground, then we should recover.
You know, with folks like Jack at the helm, I'm certain that the eastern wild turkey's future will once again return to the days where we could hear gobblers on every ridgetop. Hey, thanks for joining us today. You know, springtime in Oklahoma is really a magical time, and with so much to see and do, good luck trying to cram it all in. Hey, for all of us at your wildlife department, I'm Todd Craighead, and we'll see you right here next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.